I was talking yesterday about how my daughter has been sending paper and ink flyers to all the neighborhood homes here to promote her new dog walking business. Paper and ink physical flyers, door to door, belly to belly, eye to eye, toe to toe, and how it's giving her a nice 4% response. She passed out 100 flyers. She has 4 new clients. Old school, ugly paper and ink flyers. It reminds me of my friend Gordon Quinton. Gordon is a long-term friend, sometimes client. I worked with Gordon about 17 years ago. He was one of my private clients, and I actually did something I never do anymore, which is I did in-person consultation at his agency in Rochester, New York. Gordon has an amazing story, and you can look him up anytime at Quinton Insurance. Gordon, when I first started working with him one-on-one 17, 18 years ago, he approached me to consult with him. He had a small insurance agency in Rochester, married, 2 young children, former tennis guy, former tennis pro, had an athletic background like myself. A lot of similarities. He was born in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The whole deal. Struggling, frustrated, in financial trouble, a lot of things not working in his world. And the reason that Gordon contacted me at the time, I wasn't a consultant, is I had taken over my dad's insurance agency and I had run it for a couple of years. And I was in the process of purchasing it over 10 years. And if you don't know my story, I took over my dad's agency after working as an employee for a year, and with almost zero insurance and experience. I didn't even have a license until I walked in the door the first year I worked as an employee. The first 2 years that I owned I purchased it, we nearly tripled our size. So we tripled our bottom line net profits, not just size, but also the profits in the first 24 to 36 months. We 3x'd our business. And it still didn't make us a very big business. It made us, we were 3.4 million, and then, we were closing in on 10 million. So we 3x'd it in those 3 years. So Gordon saw what I was doing, and he reached out to me and said, would I work with him one-on-one? So I went to Rochester and I spent a couple of days with Gordon. And what I found at the time was what I find with a lot of businessmen and entrepreneurs that I work with nowadays. I find when I first connect with them that they're completely lost in a lot of areas, not just business. They think that their issue is marketing. They think their issue is not bringing in enough money. But the fact is, they're not living an authentic life. They're not building the badass world of their dreams. And they don't have any personal sovereignty because they don't have any money. They don't have any freedom. They don't have any control. They don't have any autonomy. So they have no personal sovereignty. They're wearing the golden handcuffs and they're literally a slave to their business. At best, they have a high-paying job. At worst, they're living as a slave to their business. If they're not grinding, they're not making any money. That's not what entrepreneurship is about. Entrepreneurship is about building a business that supports the lifestyle of your dreams. Think about that. That's what entrepreneurship is to build a business that supports the lifestyle of your dreams. If you want to work 40 hours a week, it supports that. If you want to work 15 hours a week, it supports that. If you want to travel, it supports that. If you want to golf every day, it supports that. If you want to, run a business with one employee, it supports that. If you want to have multiple locations, it supports that. If you want to be a work from home dad, it supports that. That's what it's about. So we got to work building a lifestyle business for Gordon. And I have to give him credit. He's my most successful student over the last 17 years. He took that agency, and I'm just thinking it was probably a little bit over $1 million in premium, maybe two, which is a pretty tiny operation. That's pretty much the same size as we started. We were 3 and a bit. So he was probably around our size. I can't exactly remember. And today he now lives in Naples. Fast forward 17 years later. His children are successfully out of the home, living. His one son is in the insurance business. His other daughter is at college in New York City. His relationship with his wife is on fire. He's in great physical health. He's down 40 pounds from 40 years ago. He plays in competitive over 50 tennis tournaments here every week. He's in phenomenal shape. He goes to the gym every day. And he's built his agency from a couple of $1 million when I found him to $40 million, he told me. $40 million the other day. And my message today is not about all the other great stuff that he's been able to do. When I found him, he was struggling with his marriage. He was struggling with his relationship with his children, how to connect as a father. Physically, he was 30 or 40 pounds heavier. Time management issues, all kinds of problems that, young men face when they're growing a business. You feel guilty when you're not working and you're at home, and when you're at home, you feel guilty that you're not working. So I had been there, and I was able to share with him my expertise. The one thing that's been a game changer for Gordon, and it makes me laugh because 99% of the men watching this video, you talk about all the marketing you need to do. You talk about all the, you're going to do this on Twitter, and you're going to do this through social media, and you're going to start shooting videos like I do, and you're going to send out a newsletter, and you're going to start emailing your list, or you're going to start building your list, or you're going to start building a fax list. And it's just talk. It's all talk. You do absolutely nothing. And that's why, when you give yourself a grade out of 10, most business operators are a dismal 0. Not even a 1, a dismal 0. Marketing is 70% of your business. Marketing is 70% of your business, and most businessmen wouldn't spend 1% of their time, 1% of their money invested, 0. So 0 gets you 0. There's no growth. There's no positive cash flow. There's always, the next crisis. There's no money in the bank. There's no profit, and there's no fun, because the marketing, like I said in yesterday's video, that's the fun of business, is the marketing. So how in the hell did Gordon Quinton grow his business from a couple $1 million to $40 million? How in the hell is he semi-retired? He has an agency. His agency is still in Rochester. He also has a little office here in Naples that he never goes to. How in the hell did he grow his agency from 3 million, 2 million, whatever it was, to over 40 million? Oh, and by the way, as a semi-retired owner, he's 100% owner of his agency, I asked him, I said, you know, how were your financial results in 2022? You know, the coming off the China virus, and, you know, every businessman has every excuse. So, you know, there's the economy's tough and the markets are tough and this is tough. Those are guys that spend all their time on anti-social media, watching the vomit news, you know, all the stuff that doesn't serve you, all the stuff that's designed to give you a coward mind, to make you to live as a slave. It's the opposite of personal sovereignty when you participate in toxic swamps with toxic messages, toxic people. It's all fight and flight, and it's all designed to make you like everybody else. So Gordon, to his credit, went the exact opposite way. He just went the exact opposite way. He did what I did. He looked around and he did the exact opposite. So he said to me at the time when I went to see him for those 2 days, he said, Coach, what do I got to do to turn this all around? I said, well, number one, you have to stop digging. You're in a hole, so let's stop digging. So in terms of your marriage, let's stop this, all of this behavior. When it comes to your children, let's stop this. Okay, when it comes to your business, let's stop this, this, and this. When it comes to your physical health, let's stop this, and stop this. When it comes to your nutrition, let's stop this. When it comes to drinking alcohol, let's stop this. And on we went. And what a ferocious student. I mean, Gordon started reading every day for an hour. He started copywriting for an hour. He learned how to copywrite. He didn't know how to learn or market. He learned he went to the gym every day, every morning, lost 30, 40 pounds. Everything and anything I instructed him to do, he took massive action on it. And the biggest thing he did is I said, listen, if you want to grow your business like I am, 3x, 4x, 5x, I said, simple. You have to start killing more trees. You have to start killing more trees. So Gordon was like, okay, what do you mean? I said, paper and ink, baby. Paper and ink. Direct response, flyers, postcards, thank you cards, newsletters. I said, this is 17 years ago. I said, this anti-social media is toxic bullshit. I said, you're not going to find any client or prospect or customer worth their salt who's there. I said, that's a swamp for losers. And I said, you've got to decide, how are you going to build your business? Are you going to build it with readers, top 5% people that read, that you send a flyer, you send a thank you card, you send a postcard, you send a newsletter, which of course attracts a reader. And you repel the 99.9% that you don't want as your customer. So I recommend it. He had a list there that he hadn't touched. I'm sure you have a list of 10,000 names or 500 names or 15,000 names that you keep talking about, people that have contacted your business, let's say in the last 10 years. That's a gold mine that's just sitting right there. And I'm sure you talk a good game every day about how you should email those people, or you should reach out to those people, or you should hire a person to phone them, or you should send them a letter, and none of it happens. You're not going to do any of it. But in Gordon's case, he had a list of clients and past clients, and for the last 17 years, he's communicated with them every single month, no exceptions. So he started writing thank you letters, handwritten thank you letters from Gordon to everybody and anybody that gave him money that day. So he was like me, he started really small. He might sell a policy a day. He might sell 2 policies a day. So he got these cards printed up, live stamped. They looked like a wedding invitation. They weren't typed or anything like that. And they were from Gordon. And every day he would write 3 or 4 of these thank you cards. And it transformed his business, right? He would thank somebody that sent him a referral. He would thank somebody at one of his companies who went above and beyond. And he would thank a current customer or somebody that decided to become a new client. So 4 or 5 thank you cards a day, killing more trees. And you know, I've given that secret to businessmen for years, and almost nobody takes it. Too simple, too old school. I'm not gonna do, or they fuck it up. They send some stupid fake font, or they make their relationship worse. They don't have the work ethic to sit down and write the cards every day. They don't have the discipline, so they screw that up even. They're too busy working on easy buttons and magic pills and hacks and shortcuts. Not Gordon. He just sat down and wrote 5 thank you cards a day, and he's still doing it today. Thank you, thank you. Those have such an impact. It's insane. How many thank you cards do you get? You buy a $100,000 SUV, I don't get a thank you card. I buy a fucking house in Naples, I don't get a thank you card. I bought a house in Canada, 3 of them, didn't get a thank you card. I bought a Ford F-150, $100,000 truck, never got a thank you. Shoes and rucking vests and, you know, thousands and tens of thousands of millions of dollars. Never do I get a thank you card. I'll get the odd thank you card from one of my elite students. So that's the power. Secondly, killing more trees. I said, Gordon, you got to do a monthly paper and ink physical newsletter. No email, none of that horse shit that nobody wants. Or you got to show up as a welcome guest. So to his credit again, he wasn't any good at it. He sat down and he started writing a monthly newsletter. And I have copies of all the newsletters he sent, and they went from bad to okay, to mediocre, to good, to pretty good, to very good over the last 18 years. He started adding more of his personality in there. He'd have things about his wife and his kids in there, and their travels and their sports, and he really was a serious student of all of this stuff, and it really showed. So that's all on him. He deserved that. And he didn't try and be a cheapskate about it. He didn't try and say, well, I'm going to email this to save the money, or I'm going to send this bulk rate because I'm cheap. He didn't say, I'm going to do this quarterly because 12 times a year is too expensive. By the way, free is the new expensive. In today's world, when it comes to marketing, free is the new expensive. I don't touch anything that's free as a consumer. I don't want anything that's free. I don't want any products. I don't want any books. I don't want anything that's free, because I know it's no good and it has no value, and it attracts freebie seekers if you offer it. So you don't get my book for free, you pay for the book. I'll throw in the shipping. You don't get my newsletter for free, you pay for it. You don't join my mastermind with a free test trial. You're either in or you're out. I attract real men, real students. So free is the new expensive. So Gordon was one of those rare birds who said, I'm going to write a newsletter 12 months a year, and it's an investment in my company, and I'm going to do it no matter what. And the return on investment was probably 1 to 1, 2 to 1, maybe 3 to 1. But that put a steel curtain around his client base. That literally cross-sold for him, upsold, retention vehicle, personality marketing, the whole 9 yards. It's just the foundation of his business. My Michael McLean World Building newsletter is the foundation of my business. You can subscribe at badassletter.com. That's my monthly paper and ink newsletter for world builders. I love killing trees as well. Any business I've ever had has had a physical newsletter. My barbershop, my hockey team had a newsletter. My McLean Insurance, I sent a newsletter for 11 straight years. My my barber shop, as I said, all my consulting companies. I've had 2 consulting companies where I've had a physical newsletter as the foundation of the company. If I have a business, I have a monthly newsletter. Once again, 99.9% of businessmen can't get out of their way to make this happen. Too cheap, too lazy, too iPhone addicted. It takes discipline to sit down and write from the heart. So the last thing that Gordon's done to go from 3 million to 40 plus million, by the way, he had an increase in profits last year, net to the bottom line, not any of this gross BS, over 7 figures, over $1 million in increased net profit in 2022. Oh boy, the tough economy, and things are tough in New York, and you know, we don't have the government we want, and we don't have the guy in the White House that we want, and oh, the price of paper, and it's just inflation, and I should cut this and cut that. He's up $1 million. Not surprised. He should be up $1 million for everything he does. So that brings me to the third thing that Quentin did, and that was commit to what I did. He said, Michael, that's all great. Thank you cards and the newsletter, that keeps everything retained. That puts a fence around your herd. But what's growing? What's your phenomenal growth? So I gave him the answer that disappoints most businessmen. Well, I send a ugly paper and ink flyer every single month. Anybody that lives within 50 miles at the time, 100 miles, I got up to 500 miles. If you live within 500 miles of my office, you get a paper and ink goldenrod flyer every single month in your mailbox. And I did that for, good morning. I did that for something like, again, 13 straight years. So I started with this ugly 2-sided flyer, and I started with 50 a week, hand deliver them to post office. Then I got up to 100 a week. Then I got up to, remember, 200, 300 a week. I got all the way up to 500 flyers a week. And I was like, wow. And I was taking the phone calls. I was a sales guy at the time. And then I said, okay, this is working so well. We were getting like a 4-to-1 ROI. For every dollar I spent on flyers, I was making $4 net on insurance commissions. So then I said, I'm going to scale this baby to the moon. So I went from 500 flyers to 1,000. You know, they were 10 cents to print, 10 cents to mail. This is going back 17 years. But it doesn't really matter what the cost is to print or to mail. It's your ROI. You're either winning or you're not. And then if you are, you scale. By the time I was done my last couple of years in the insurance business, I had gone from 100 flyers, okay, so let's say 400 or 500 flyers a month, to 130 or 140,000 a month. 140,000 flyers a month. That was every home within 400 miles of our office. They got that ugly flyer. How many times a year? 12. I had people come up to me and say, Michael, I've been getting your flyer for 8 years. 8 years I've been throwing it in the trash. And today I said, fuck it. I'm gonna call this No BS Insurance Guy. And I just wanna let you know that I'm your new customer. Home, car, umbrella, life insurance. I'm like, thank you very much. They said, we've never seen relentless like it. 8 years we've been getting your flyer, 8 times 12, always in the trash can. Finally, you arrived. When we had our renewal, we were upset with our company. We call you up and now we're your customer. 8 years. You couldn't do something for 8 minutes. When it comes to marketing, most of you guys couldn't do something for 8 minutes. The flyer would never be designed. You would stop, you'd worry about the color of the paper. You wouldn't know what to put on the flyer. You wouldn't know how to mail it. You wouldn't know how to contact the US postal system. You'd be stopped at 1X. 1X, you'd be stopped. Even if you got to day one, you'd be stopped at day one. I found out all these ways. I learned these ways. I became a kitchen table marketing commando, an absolute marketing assassin. I did all of this organization on my kitchen table in my 1-bedroom apartment at night. I'd put the stack of 100 flyers together and take them to the post office. Then the next week I'd put the 100 stack together, take them to the post office. And that's how I started. I was a kitchen table marketing commando. And you know what? Today, Emery, my daughter's involved in this. Anything I do, she's at the kitchen table, filling out envelopes, putting stamps on things, just being involved in all of it. And that's what's fun, is when you get your teenagers and your children involved in entrepreneurship. So Gordon decided to do a cheap postcard, which I'm a huge fan of, the dirt cheap postcard. So if you've ever seen these postcards, there's nothing really to see. There's a great headline on it about saving money on your commercial insurance. He does business insurance first. So he went to his company, Erie Insurance, and he said, "All right, guys, what kind of business would you like me to write?" He actually had the intelligence to go to them and say, "What would you want me to write?" And they came back with 3 or 4 niches, and they said, "This is what we're really strong in. These are the business niches we're really strong in, like paving contractors and septic contractors. Like, we have good rates. We're really good at this business, and we like this type of business person." So what did Gordon do? He went out and he designed a postcard for each of these niches. I think you start with 1 niche, then 2 niches, and then you get up to 10 niches, eye doctors, you name it. He didn't care what the niche was. He asked the companies what they wanted, and then he went and sold it for them. And he had these tiny half-page postcards, which he still uses today. And it's pretty amazing because they have the rates on the back, they have testimonials, all the stuff that good direct response flyers and postcards and sales letters have. And here we are 18 years later, and I said to him, I was having lunch the other day with him and playing some tennis, and I said, are you still raining mail on their heads?" He said, "Coach, more than ever." He goes, "I'm mailing as much as I did 10 years ago, 5 years ago." And he said the return on investment is still there. He says we're up 7 figures net this year with our business niches, all through tiny little ugly postcards. How long did it take him to design the postcard? I don't know. Maybe a day here and there. Maybe I gave him some consultation with that, and I said, okay, here's how you do that. And but the biggest thing was he got them out there. And he made, good morning, and he made them work, and he made the return on investment. I'm sure some of those niches were 1-to-1 ROI. Then some of them got 2-to-1 ROI. And then some of them, were home runs, probably at 9-to-1 or 8-to-1. I haven't talked to him about that in a while. But it's just amazing, the power of direct mail, real mail, physical mail. He's done this for the last 18 years, like I told him. And you know what? He doesn't do anything with social media. What little he does with Facebook and things like that, it doesn't even matter. It's just there as a presence. His website is a landing page. It's all driven by these ugly, tiny postcards. That's it. It's like my daughter's dog walking company. It's all driven by old school physical flyers. So, it's been a wake-up call for Marc-Andre and Leanne and I as well, because we have a huge list of men that bought our book. They bought my book, and then they never bought anything else. So we have this huge list of elite men that bought the book, but they haven't subscribed to my monthly newsletter, and they haven't applied for one of my masterminds. So I have a gold mine, just like you do, sitting there, a list of prospects and buyers, not even prospects. These are men that have given me money in the past. So I have a list of buyers that I'm going to now, Leanne and Mark and I, every single month, we're going to be sending direct mail. Sometimes it'll be a letter, sometimes it'll be a postcard, sometimes it'll be some lumpy mail. Sometimes it might be a newsletter format. Whatever it is, we're gonna contact them with physical mail every single month, tell a story, and make a call to action, which will be the newsletter. Hey, you bought my book. If you like that, what about becoming a newsletter subscriber at badassletter.com? So really interesting stuff. And I was guilty of that as well, because I'm a direct mail guy. And on this, we've been doing a lot of email, a lot of daily videos. We've been so busy with growing this business that the gold mine is sitting right at our feet, and now it's up to us to mine it. So that's my Gordon Quinton story, from 3 million to 40 million, marriage on fire, special connection with his kids, in the best physical and mental shape of his life. He's working now about 2 hours per day. He has a staff of like 6 people. He doesn't have a monster staff by any means. He lives in Naples in the winter. My God, if you live here, it's life, paradise, right? And then he lives in Rochester in the summer, plays tennis tournaments, and he's up 7 figures 18 years in. And what does he do to bring all of his new business? 99% of his new business he brings in by simple, dirt cheap, ugly flyers. He's killing trees. Everybody's trying to tweet this and do this and pay per click. It was funny, Gordon did all that stuff. We were laughing about it the other day. He said, what a waste. He said, killing money. Back in the day, pay per click and Google this, big tech. And he just went back. He goes, that's money I can be spending in the mail. That's money that I can be using to print more postcards. That's money that I can be using in physical mail. So that's what he's done. And I showed him how to write the postcards. I showed him when to send them, all that stuff. And that's what I can do for you as well. If you need help becoming a kitchen table commando, first of all, there's 3 levels. Buy my book. I don't do anything till you buy and read my book. You can get a copy of Yes, I Killed a Lot of Trees, my book, How to Not Get Your Ass Kicked in Business and in Life. You can get a physical paper and ink copy of that at nobullbook.com. Nobullbook.com. That's number 1. The second level is you can subscribe to my monthly paper and ink. There it is again, paper and ink newsletter. And good morning. It's called Michael McLean World Building Newsletter. Michael McLean World Building Newsletter. I ship this to your home or your office. It's a 22-page paper newsletter. You can subscribe at badassletter.com. Badassletter.com. Don't say it's too much money. It's $3.23 a day. It's $3.23 a day. A bum on the street could make that money, does make that money. So don't say it's too much. That's a socialist coffee at Starbucks. That's a couple of sugar or a high caffeine energy drinks. That's $3.23 a day for my newsletter to transform your business, your physical health, your mental health, your money, and your marketing. Badassletter.com. And I'll send you one of these black t-shirts right there. Badass on the front, be relentless on the back, if you subscribe to the newsletter today. And finally, the third ladder step for my best of my best is my mastermind. So that's a 12-month online mastermind, no travel, no airports. We meet every 2 weeks online for 2 weeks or 2 hours. You get one-on-one coaching every second Wednesday from me with your brothers. We do hot seats and work on each other's business. I bring to you what's working and not working in my life and business. You can apply for your seat. Enrollment is open for the next day, and that is badassworldbuilder.com. badassworldbuilder.com. And you can apply. There's like 5 questions. I'll read your application, and it's expensive. It's 10 grand for the entire year, but it's not expensive either. It comes to something like $23 and something a day. 23 something a day. It's just wild how inexpensive personal and professional development can be. So those are the 3 ladders and the 3 steps. And I will help you kill more trees. I will help design your marketing. I will help you get off the schneid, and I will help you stop talking about what you're gonna do. My daughter Emery does it with ugly paper and ink marketing. Gordon Quinton does it with ugly paper and ink physical marketing, and you can as well. Remember, kick ass and take names. 2 words that changed my life, 2 words that'll change your life. Be relentless.